Hello everybody and welcome back to World of Warships Legends. My name is Spartan Elite 43 and tonight we are finally testing out the new buffed Worcester. So, hopefully you guys are ready. It's gonna be a spicy meatball tonight. It's gonna be spicy. Why do I say spicy? Because we are gonna be using our EOP Worcester to do some seriously nasty things to people. Now, a lot of people get on me because they're like, well, Spartan, if you use EOP, you cut into the amount of damage that you get over time because you just don't get as many fires. In fact, it cuts your fire chance in half. And I agree with that. If you get consistent fires. If you don't get consistent fires, because fires are solely based on RNG, and everybody knows I have the worst RNG on the planet. It isn't even a guess. Like, I do have the worst RNG on the planet when it comes to anything. Whether it's being citadeled, whether it's being fires set against me, whether it's me setting fires, it doesn't matter. Anytime RNG can possibly step in, I have the worst RNG on the planet. So, I try to take RNG out of the equation as much as possible. And one of the ways I can do that is by putting EOP on. Yes, it cuts my fire chance in half, but it allows my shells to do damage on targets that they would normally be shattering on. Why is this a big deal? Because it allows me to get consistent damage on targets that I would normally be shattering on, which means I'm not getting consistent damage, which means I have to rely solely on getting fires. Now, yes, this does cut my fire chance in half, but honestly, it doesn't seem to affect my fires as much as it sounds like it does. I still get quite a few fires on this. Again, fires are, yes, they're based on percentage of chance of setting fire, right? Each shell has a certain percentage, which I think with the Worcester is like 7% with this build, 7.5%, because I think it's 15% normal and we have EOP, so look at that! First shot, first fire. Funny how that works, isn't it? So, again, this comes right back to the, you get just as many fire, well, I seem to get just as many fires with EOP on as I do without them. Now, sure, there are some times where you'll get into a drought of just EOP not allowing you to get fires, but then you're still doing damage. I mean, have you ever been on the receiving end of an EOP HE barrage? Like, for real. It is basically like being on the receiving end of a Baltimore HE spam, except it happens every, like, 3 seconds. And you have, what, 16 guns? I'm not doing the math. There's 6 at the back, 6 at the front, 12 guns. We'll call it 12. We'll call it even. But you guys get the point. So you got more guns firing more often, and it feels like you're being hit by 8-inch guns. Now, it's not necessarily the truth of the matter, obviously, but it is pretty noticeable when you're on the receiving end of an HE spam with EOP versus somebody who's spamming HE without EOP with the 152mm guns. And personally, I would much rather be on the receiving end of somebody who's setting more fires but doing less damage overall, because I can use damage controls to control the fires. Okay? Makes sense? I can't do... Oh my god. Alaska! Stop blowing holes in my ship! So yeah, Worcester, still just as easy to Citadel as ever. Which is the biggest problem with the Worcester. Isn't that it wasn't capable of doing damage before, because God knows it was. But this ship, even with a 32mm bow and 32mm of armor pretty much everywhere, this ship still gets absolutely bullied. Why? Because you can never get close enough to actually use the 32mm bow. You just can't. If you do, you're dead. You're already dead by the time you get close enough to use that armor. So, at the ranges that you're tending to engage in, which is, 12 kilometers and beyond, in a preferable situation, you're still getting chunked because of plunging fire. Okay? They don't have to overmatch my bow and stern to be able to hit me for a Citadel. All they gotta do is get a couple of good shots into the center of the ship with plunging fire, and I go kapoof. That's just how it works. Now, here you can see that we are... getting pretty fortunate. These guys are just really bad shots. As we get another fire, this one permanent, I believe, on the Kansas. I say that as he, I think, puts the fire out, actually. Come to think of it. But, yeah. we're just trying to limit the amount of damage we're taking here. We're not getting all of our guns to bear. We're trying to keep ourselves out of trouble too much. And you're going to see me start to punish this Alaska once we start getting shots on target. And he's going to realize pretty quick he messed up. Like, you cannot leave a DPM cruiser to beat you up. You can't do it. I don't care if it's Worcester, I don't care if it's Cleveland, I don't care if it's the Mines, the Weimar, it doesn't matter. If you leave a DPM cruiser out here to do what they do, you will die very quickly. Minos, doesn't matter. Okay? They will kill you in short order as we just blap that Alaska superstructure for a nasty chunk and set a fire. Now, obviously, he damage cons it. He's got a cruiser damage con, which is one of the beauties of the Alaska. It's basically like having a battleship, only with the added cruiser damage con, which is a faster damage con. Plus, you take less damage over time from fires and floods because you're a cruiser and not a battleship. So, there's a lot of goods to have with the Alaskas and the Stalingrad. But, yeah. At the end of the day, you're still a cruiser, and at the end of the day, you better respect an EOP Worcester. For real. Because this thing, once I do start landing, like, don't get me wrong, you gotta remember, this is one of the first games after the update. Now, I have played this ship a few times since this update, and I have scored some better games than this. But I thought that this was a really good showcase of the strengths and the weakness of the buffed ship. Especially with me using EOP, which I don't think a lot of people do. A lot of people just go straight fire starter with it, which is fine. And if you're able to get the fires consistently, then you're absolutely going to be nasty. But for me, I like hitting and getting damage. Oh my god, he totally just screwed the booch. He just beached in front of me broadside. Well, I guess this will be a good chance to not only use the HE, but potentially AP, as he just opens himself up to being blapped. Will I switch? I don't know. I don't remember. But it wouldn't be a bad opportunity. But he is turning towards me, which is angling him, so staying with the HE here, not a bad idea. But you can see, when we do land, we are doing damage every time we hit him. You can see those 632 damage hits, they stack up pretty quickly. As we send another barrage towards him, and he gets finished off by the Odin. Now again, the strength of the Worcester isn't that it sits at super long ranges. You want to be close enough that you can actually do some serious damage. Mino here is about to smoke up in front of everybody and do what Minos do best, right? Here's the problem with that. I'm a radar cruiser. If you smoke up in front of me, I will close within radar range and I will make you a miserable man. Okay? It's just the way it goes. You think that this is a good plan? I'm going to prove you wrong. Now, obviously, Mino's AP is nasty. So is mine. But Mino is angled against us, so we're not going to be able to do much with the AP. But he also has the same issue we have, which is struggling to hit the target at medium and long ranges. The shells are very floaty, meaning you can lob islands all day long. But at ranges, especially on anybody who's nimble, you're gonna struggle to land hits. Even against like battleships and stuff, you struggle at ranges to consistently get good hits. Because all it takes is a minor adjustment to their course, and all of your shells that you've been shooting for the last minute and a half are gone. They miss. So keep that in mind. Anybody who's on the receiving end of a long-range HE barrage, change course once in a while. Don't just continue to sail in a straight line. You'd be surprised how much damage you can avoid, and sometimes, if you show enough ability to just get out of the way, the person who's spamming you will just stop. They'll look for another target who's easier to hit, because that's the way people do. Now, obviously, we know roughly how far away from this guy we are, because we have an 11-kilometer surface detection, and we are well within that 11 kilometers. So we get close. He actually gets detected before. I don't know if he backed out of his smoke or what, but he gets detected. We're going to go ahead and load the AP and just absolutely smash this man right here, right now. He can't shoot us. We're using the smoke against him. And once we get these shells to land mid-ship, he's going to have a bad day. As you can see, we can stack up. This is the downside of the Mino, guys, and the Worcester, for that matter. They both have the exact same weakness. If you are broadside, you will be citadeled, and there is nothing that's going to overpin you. The Worcester does not get overpinned. The Mino does not get overpinned. That is the downside of legendary tier light cruisers. Unlike their predecessors at tier 7 and 6, they actually get citadeled by everything. So you have to keep that in mind. You cannot take those risks. You have to be smart. You know, it's just one of those things. And a lot of people ask me, well, Spartan, when should you use HE? When should you use AP? And so on and so forth. Now, on light cruisers, you don't have a lot of great armor penetration capability at range. You lose a lot of that armor penetration at range. Okay, they're light shells. So as they lose velocity, their penetration drops significantly. So you usually don't use the AP unless you're up against a lightly armored target, like a Mino who's broadside, or you're up close and personal. And by up close and personal, I mean within that 10-kilometer range. If you're inside 10 kilometers, if there's a broadside battleship in front of it, you will chunk him for 10k a salvo, usually 8 to 10k. Okay, so AP is definitely something you need to learn to use when it's available. Now, when do you use HE? On everything else on a light cruiser. Like, HE should be your go-to shell in a light cruiser unless somebody's given you the best possible chance to do significant damage per salvo. Now, obviously, this is a 4v2, but our battleship that's out there against this Gross Kurfürst, I'm assuming he's dead. Now, you can see he has died. Now, this is a 2v3, and they have a Kurfürst, and I am way too close to this Kurfürst for my comfort. The Mogami, I ain't too worried about. So what we're going to do, rather than chase this Kurfürst in and get obliterated, which is exactly what would likely happen, I am going to turn away from him, use my radar to keep an eye on him, okay? This is another opportunity. You don't always use a radar to find somebody to shoot. Sometimes you find out what the enemy is doing and avoid them. And so that's what we're going to do here. We see he's backing into the base. He's trying to get that base cap, which is completely the wrong thing to do for him at the moment. I get wanting to do it, but in the situation, he could be coming out here to kill me. And instead, he drops back into the base to make sure he gets that base cap, which keeps him behind the island, which gives me plenty of time to disengage. Now, you can see the Baltimore obviously realizes the exact same thing that I realized, and that this is a very losable game right now. We've had a very good game up to this point. We've only gotten 4 fires this entire game, so arguably, if we didn't have EOP, we would have 8 fires, right? And that's the math that you would assume. But how much damage would we not have if we didn't have the ability to do damage to people like the Kurfürst, like the, you know, the Alaska and them, who have 32 millimeters of plating everywhere? How many shells are we shattering? You know what I'm saying? So that's the trade-off. That's the trade-off for EOP. Personally, I like doing the consistent damage because I just can never rely on fires to do damage consistently. It always seems like when you need a fire, you never get it, whether you have EOP or not. Now, our battleship goes in to take a fight to this Kurfürst, which is... I don't know what our battleship is. I'm not paying attention to him. But it's not necessarily the best idea when you have the lead. You could just back off and let them come to you. There's no reason to push the fight. And you can see, I realize that this battleship is planning on fighting this Kurfürst, so I'm trying to get in position to shoot this Kurfürst. I'm also coming out here to help keep this Mogami at bay. I know the Mogami was coming this way, so getting out here into a position where we could potentially help is huge. Now, we are assuming that this Kurfürst, yep, there he is. He's got his shots out. This is not going to feel good, but he has HE loaded. Of all the things that if he had AP loaded, I am dead right there 90% of the time. If not a full 100%. Because he caught us with our pants down. I was not expecting him to come all the way out here and have his guns ready for me. Like, it just baffled me that he was this ready. So that throws my plans to kill the Mogami out, and means that I have to use this island to once again protect myself from the Kurfürst. And the good thing is, Kurfürst beaches himself broadside to our battleship. Our battleship's not going to have any trouble whatsoever finishing the Kurfürst off. And then we are going to come around the corner and see if we can't score some HE or AP hits on this Kurfürst, just to showcase the AP of this ship. And then we do something incredibly stupid and over-angle and take a freaking torpedo. I am generally pretty good at dodging torpedoes, but look at the damage we just did. Did you see that? That was like 7,000 damage right there that we just did in that salvo. Disgusting. So if you get the opportunity to use the AP, you definitely need to use it. Top of the leaderboard, 2,800 base XP with Alaska coming in with 2,600. Odin coming in clutch at the end there with 2,300. So if you like what we're doing, punch the like button, leave a comment below, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and as always, I will see you in the next video.